Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in! Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. All right, guys. Was it better than yesterday or was it worse? We can be honest.
I would say it was equal.
Equal?
I would say it's equal or maybe a little bit worse, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think, Cassie?
Yeah, I think yesterday's might have been a tad bit better.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad,
Well,
but
it
yesterday
wasn't
was
bad,
better.
We're not starting out the hottest, okay? Taylor Sharper with you, filling in for a vacationing Mr. Hunt Palmer. I'm here today, likely tomorrow, and then Matthew Musso is going to take it over from there. He will be in on Friday. Guys, I'm in a wedding on Friday. I don't know why. People keep asking me to attend these things. And look, this one's for my sister-in-law. It's no big deal. I was going to be there anyways, but I got to kind of be there at like 4 o'clock, fully dressed, ready to go. It'd be kind of hard to take over Hunt Show till 3 o'clock and make that happen. So Matt Musso will be in for the remainder of the week. Obviously, everyone's going to want to talk about the LSU baseball game. Look, hour number 2, baseball heavy. We got Koki Riley coming on at 2:15. We got Joe Healy of D1 Baseball. Normally on Thursdays, he had to push it up a day. He will be on today at 2:30. So we're going to be baseball heavy in hour number 2. I will kind of give you right now maybe my overall takeaways. Look, I sat here yesterday and said Northwestern State, not an elite baseball program, but a solid midweek opponent, and they could potentially hurt you if you let them hang around. Well, that's exactly what happened. I didn't think they would hurt them to the tune of a run rule, 13-3, but that's exactly what happened. Look, it was an hour and a half rain delay. Right after that, LSU came out super sluggish. Northwestern State took an early lead. You did have 3 home runs on the night, but all 3 of them, unfortunately, were solo shots. Derek Curiel had one, Jake Brown had one, and Chris Stanfield with the other. But again, all of them solo home runs. You kind of experimented with a lot of different things last night. Jared Jones was at third base, which I think that experiment should end. And maybe that's what I want to touch on right now. I don't understand the Jared Jones experiment at third. I get it. You want to see what you have. You're trying to get Jake Brown's bat in the lineup. I totally understand that. I'm good with that. Jake Brown's been solid. And you can say, okay, well, if we get Jake Brown at first, can Jared Jones be at third base and that be your best hitting lineup? Can we act like Michael Braswell is like a good hitter, because he is? He's batting .324 in SEC play. He's getting on base. He's a good glove out there at third base. Like, look, Jared Jones hit a home run. It was crucial for you over the weekend against Alabama. He was 2 for 11 on the weekend against Alabama. Jones has struggled a little bit at the plate. Honestly, recently, Michael Braswell's been a little bit more consistent offensively. And we know what kind of glove he has at third. But beyond that, Jared Jones is never going to be a realistic option for you at third base. Ever. Heaven forbid Michael Braswell and Tanner Reeves both get injured. You're probably still not going to Jared Jones. You're probably going to move Daniel Dickinson over to third, slot somebody else in there at second base. I really don't see any world where Jared Jones plays third. So if that's not going to happen, why experiment with it? Again, this is a midweek game. You hate to see it. Does this mean LSU is a worse baseball team than they were yesterday morning? No. There are certainly some concerns, but it doesn't mean that they are a markedly worse baseball team. It's just one of those things that few head-scratching moves. I get it. Jay likes to tinker with the lineup a little bit, try different things out, but if you're trying someone out at third base that's never going to be a realistic option, what's the point? I guess that's kind of where I lie on that. Look, I'm not going to get too heavy into baseball because the NFL draft is tomorrow. Do want to talk some New Orleans Saints here real quick. Again, hour number 2, going to be baseball heavy. So right now, let's get the show started like we do every day with the Genesis Opening Drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
First round of the 2025 NFL draft coming up tomorrow night. Obviously, your New Orleans Saints hold that 9th overall pick. Ross Jackson, who is with us at LouisianaSports.net yesterday, put out a whole 7-round mock draft. I have some thoughts on it. I did mention a little bit yesterday, Ross does have the Saints trading back up into the first round at 32 overall, taking that pick from the Philadelphia Eagles to take quarterback Jackson Dart. We'll certainly talk about that one, but just kind of want to look at some of the major picks. At 9 overall, Ross Jackson has the Saints taking Tyler Warren. I am all for the Saints taking Tyler Warren. I love him at 9. I just don't know if he'll be there. This morning on OTB, T-Bob had me do a mock draft. I had Tyler Warren going in the top 5. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars like him, and if they don't take him, the Jets are a possibility there at 7. Again, I would love Tyler Warren at 9. I just don't know if he's there. However, if he's there, I do think the New Orleans Saints take it. If he's gone, then what? In my opinion, it could be Mason Graham. I know that Mason Graham has kind of been the overwhelming favorite for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yesterday, Adam Schefter came out and said, I don't know what the Jaguars are going to do, but I'm pretty confident in saying they're not going to take Mason Graham. So if he's not there, the Panthers pass on Mason Graham. He's there at 9. No more Tyler Warren. Ashton Genty's likely going to go 6 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't see why it can't be Mason Graham. He's a guy that's an immediate plug-and-play starter on the defensive line. Interior D-line is a position of need for you. But again, I do agree with Ross that if Tyler Warren's there at number 9, I do think the Saints take it. Again, at that second pick in round 1, 32 overall, he does have the Saints taking Jackson Dart. I'd be okay with it as long as you don't give up a lot. For what it's worth, in this mock draft, Ross has the Saints giving up 40 overall, 131 overall, but they get back 134 and a 2026 second round pick. If that's what it takes, I'm all for it. Make that move. By all accounts, Kellen Moore loves Jackson Dart, and I'm to the point now to where I trust Kellen Moore with quarterbacks. He's had a lot of success in the NFL with a lot of different quarterbacks. If you remember, he started his career with Dallas, did some nice things with Dak Prescott, moved on, went to Justin Herbert. Herbert, a very different quarterback than Dak Prescott, had success with the Chargers, moves on, goes to Jalen Hurts. Definitely a different type of player than Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert, and he wins a Super Bowl. I'm good with whatever Kellen Moore wants to do. If he thinks that Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in this class for the New Orleans Saints, who am I to argue with it? I think there's a chance you might actually have to go higher than 32, though. I broke this down a little bit yesterday. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to fall, but what if the Steelers like Jackson Dart better than Shedeur Sanders? The Saints appear to like Jackson Dart better than Shedeur Sanders, so it's not a crazy thought. They're at 21. Could you trade up to 20 overall with the Denver Broncos? That's something I kind of threw out there yesterday. The biggest issue is if you trade back up to 32, you're going to have to give up 40 overall. If you give up 40 overall, I don't know what you do at receiver, because I was all for, look, if you pass on Teteroa and McMillan, I'm good with that. You could get a 6'4 wide receiver like a Jaden Higgins at 40 overall. But you may not have 40 overall. Ross Jackson has the Saints at 71 overall in the 3rd round, taking Utah State wide receiver Jalen Royals. I like Jalen Royals. In 2022, he played in 13 games, or 23, played in 13 games, 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 15.2 yards per catch. Now, last season, he was in and out of the lineup with injuries, but by all accounts, he should be a full go for the start of the season. Only played in 7 games, but he was on pace to have a really good season. 834 yards, 6 touchdowns in only 7 games. Also, again, 15.2 yards per catch. He was a really productive player in college. The biggest issue with him is he's not that big-bodied receiver that Saints fans wanted. But who is at that spot? Jalen Royals hovers around 6 feet, and I know what people are going to say. Well, you have Brandon Cooks and Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. Why draft a guy like that? Because if you give up 40 overall to go get your quarterback, those receivers that you're looking for are going to be taken. This is a whole round later. Again, I like Jaden Higgins. He will not be there at 71, I promise you. He may not be there at 40, but he is definitely not going to be there at 71. But The good news is the Saints still get a solid receiver who I think can come in and play early. Again, he may not be that big-bodied guy you're looking for, but he's a guy nonetheless. Round 4 is interesting. He has the, he's second pick in the third round, 93 overall. Charles Grant from William and Mary, the offensive lineman. A lot of people are really high on Charles Grant. We know Mickey Loomis loves the small school guys. That makes a lot of sense. In round 4, Baron Sorrell, the edge rusher from Texas. He might not be considered one of the elite pass rushers in this class, but he could develop into one. 6 sacks last year, 11 tackles for a loss. He showed he could be a pass rusher and a run defender. He was pretty good. A guy that could be versatile in the scheme. He can stand up on the edge. He can put his hand in the dirt. He can rush the passer. He's a pretty good all-around player. I think that's pretty good value there in the 4th round. And in the second 4th round pick, this is 134 overall. This is the pick swap that he has them doing with Philly. You had 131, you now have 134. Noel Williams, the cornerback from Cal. I'm good with it. Again, solid pick. Good value there in the 4th round. You need a corner. I would actually be okay with them going corner 9 overall. I don't see that happening, though. Will Johnson had a bunch of injuries last year in Michigan. I don't know if they feel confident enough with Jedi Barron to draft him at 9 overall. But you still need a corner. Noel Williams fills that void. In the 6th round, Dylan Fairchild, the offensive lineman out of Georgia. I would love this pick in the 6th round. This might be your best value pick in the entire draft for the New Orleans Saints. 6'5", 315 pounds, and he's been a versatile player. 2022, he didn't play a ton. 15 snaps total, all at right guard. Now in 23, it was a different story. 435 snaps at left guard, 114 snaps at right guard. Now in 24, he was predominantly the left guard. 871 snaps at left guard, just 5 at right guard. But he can play on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We talk about shoring up your tackle spot, and I get it. You don't know what you think about Trevor Penning, but your guard spot might even be in a worse spot because at least you have Taliesin Fuaga to play your other tackle. I like this pick. I think he adds versatility. And then you go look at his production. 2024, 74.6 grade. Okay, but in 3 seasons at Georgia, 22, 23, 24, gave up a total of 1 sack, 7 quarterback hurries last year, 5 the year before. Gave up 1 career sack from the interior, and he can play on the left and right side. I love that pick there in round 6. Round 7, remember the Saints have 2 7th-round picks. The first one he has is Will Shepard, another pick I really like. Shepard, 2,600 yards, 27 touchdowns in his college career. That 4-year career between Vandy and Colorado. And he's got the size that you're looking for. Now, he's not one of these top 2 or 3 receivers in the draft. But Will Shepard's a guy that has been productive in multiple spots in college, and he's got the size you're looking for. 6'3", 190 pounds. So you get the really productive, really athletic Jalen Royals in round 3. You get the value pick in round 7, Will Shepard, a bigger guy who kind of fills that need of size-wise what you're looking for a receiver. So he has him taking 2 receivers, 2 completely different players, but 2 guys I think can make a pretty early impact. And at 254 overall, the last pick for the New Orleans Saints, Ross picked Riley Mills, a defensive tackle out of Notre Dame. He's a little undersized for defensive tackle. You look at his height, he's 6'5", 273 pounds. 5-year player at Notre Dame, and a really, really good player in 2024. 7.5 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 37 tackles. Again, that's predominantly on the interior. He did move around a little bit. At 6'5", 275, you can play inside, you can play outside, depending on where you need him. Another versatility pick, another high-value pick late in this NFL draft. The biggest issue with Riley Mills is he's coming off the ACL tear. He tore it in that playoff game against Indiana. This is a guy that would be drafted a lot higher if he was fully healthy. In all likelihood, Riley Mills will not be ready for the start of the season. However, if he can come back fully healthy at any point in the year, I think this is a high ceiling draft pick for you. Riley Mills was a super productive player in college at Notre Dame. All right, look, we're going to take a quick timeout. That was just kind of a reaction breakdown on Ross Jackson's latest mock draft. Kind of gave you my overall thoughts on that. We come back. We're going to continue with New Orleans Saints. Article was put out about 2 potential trade candidates that the Saints could trade away after the NFL draft. 2 guys on that list. One I'm all for. The other, I would maybe caution the Saints a little bit. That's coming up on the other side here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for Hunt Palmer, and we are going to be Saints heavy here in hour number 1. Obviously, the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. Kind of reacted to Ross Jackson's latest mock draft. You can see that at LouisianaSports.net. Ross actually has a ton of write-ups at LouisianaSports.net right now. I mean, just a wealth of information, giving you everything you might need to know as you prepare for the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. An article from A to Z Sports was put out on Monday evening talking about trades that could happen for the Saints after the draft. So, I mean, we always talk about draft day trades, right? This is like after the draft is complete, guys that are currently on the Saints roster that they could see Mickey Loomis and company moving on from. Now, the first name makes a lot of sense. It's Kendre Miller. This was a guy that was a 3rd-round pick just a few years ago. A lot of hype around Kendre Miller coming out of college. 1,399 yards, so a hair under 1,400, 17 rushing touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry. He was part of that really good TCU team that made it to the national championship. Now, those of you who watched that national championship, it didn't go very well for Kendre Miller in that squad, but, I mean, he had a really, really good season. The problem with Kendre is he's really been just super injured since he's been here. 14 games total in 2023 and 2024. His rookie year, he appeared in 8 games, 156 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, averaged 5.1 a carry. Now, this past season, he averaged 6.5 yards per carry. I'm sorry, he averaged 3.8 yards per carry this past season. So not great. That's his career average is 3.8 yards. So even when he's played, he hasn't been super productive. But 6 games, 2 starts, 148 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. So in 2 seasons, 304 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 3.8 yards per carry. So you have a guy that's often injured, and even when he's on the field, he hasn't done much. With or without Kendre Miller on this roster, I think the New Orleans Saints are going to take a running back somewhere in this class. That might be my biggest disagreement with Ross. I just broke it down. Ross does not have the Saints taking a running back. I think a running back's a must for you, especially without Kendre Miller. If you decide you're going to move on from Kendre Miller, your running back room is Alvin Kamara, who's not getting any younger, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who showed promise last year, but he's been up and down, and Jordan Mims that hasn't played a ton of football. That's your running back room. With or without Kendre Miller, I think they're taking a running back. I don't know what trade value he would hold. Look, in this article, for what it's worth, they say that it could be something, a late round pick, a day 3 pick is what they call it. I'm good with that. You just kind of need to move on from Kendre Miller at this point. Anything you can get in return from a guy like Kendre Miller is a bonus. Because if you draft a running back and you spend a 3rd-round pick on him, you might as well just cut Kendre altogether. I am totally fine with them moving on from Kendre Miller. I think most Saints fans would be confused if they did not move on from Kendre Miller. The second name mentioned, though, I disagree with. Just because of how much depth you lack at that position. The second name mentioned is tight end Foster Moreau. Now, Foster did some pretty good things for you last year. 32 catches, 413 yards, 5 touchdowns, 12.9 per catch. Pretty solid numbers because he split time with Juwan Johnson. You have right now Juwan Johnson, who you paid, but that doesn't make him a better player just because you paid him more. He's left a lot to be desired at tight end. You have Foster Moreau, and you have Taysom Hill, who's dealing with a serious knee injury. Plus, even if Taysom Hill is fully healthy, he's never going to be a traditional hand-in-the-dirt tight end. That's not what he is. Taysom Hill is a gadget player. He is a very good gadget player, but Taysom Hill is a gadget player. You have 2 tight ends. Neither of them have been insane production. I think you need a tight end in this class. I love this tight end class. I know a lot of people are saying, okay, well, if you get Tyler Warren, number 9 overall, you're good to go. Even if they don't get Tyler Warren, I like the value. Like, let's say the Saints don't trade back up to get Jackson Dart in the first round. 40 overall, there's a chance Mason Taylor's there. Even past that, Harold Fannin Jr. was a really good tight end in college. Very productive. Isaiah Arroyo from Miami, he's been a really good tight end. Gunnar Helm could possibly be there. These are all really good tight ends. I think only 2 are going in the first round. Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. I think outside of that, every tight end I just mentioned could be there at 40 overall. If you have 40 overall. But I don't see you moving on from Foster even with drafting a tight end. Because you don't have any depth. Will either of these guys actually get traded? For me, Kendre Miller, yes. If Kendre Miller is not traded, I think he's going to be right out released. I think the Saints are going to take a running back. This is a really deep running back class. I think there's 2 positions that are really, really deep. Running back, wide receiver. Tight end, not quite as deep, but there's quality players there. There's a number of guys that I'd be okay with the Saints taking late. But I don't think you can move on from Foster Moreau. Because again, Juwan Johnson hadn't played a ton of tight end. You moved him there, but he didn't play tight end in college. He's still relatively new in terms of number of years spent playing that spot. No, he's been a tight end for you for a few years now, but the results have kind of been mixed. He's been okay, but I mean, he hasn't wowed me, hasn't been overly impressive in my eyes. And Foster, really good blocker, can do some things for you in the passing game, but I think you need an upgrade there. I definitely think they're going to grab a tight end. With Taysom Hill's future uncertain, I mean, Taysom Hill had a lot of knee injuries in college. Now he's apparently dealing with another serious knee injury. He's not a true tight end anyways. Even if you draft a tight end, I don't think you can count on Taysom Hill. I think you have whichever tight end you draft, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau. I don't think you can afford to move on from Foster. So I said yes to trading Kendre Miller. I am good with that 100%. I think I'm going to say no to trading a guy like Foster Moreau. Beck, let me ask you this. If you're the New Orleans Saints, would you trade Foster Moreau?
Yeah, I think so.
You would? Okay.
I think so. I mean, I think he's one of those guys where he's not. I think he's not so important to the team where whatever value you're going to get back for him, it's like one of those things where he's at a level to me where I don't think you're going to lose that much.
He's a solid veteran.
Yeah, he's a solid player, and if you can get anything for him, then I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I guess I just look at it again, the depth at tight end. I can't trust Taysom Hill to stay healthy. I can't trust him to play tight end for you. So,
I think you can expect the Saints to probably draft a tight end in this draft.
I'm good with that, but even if you do, that's a rookie tight end in Juwan Johnson.
It is.
I agree with you. Like, if you had any sort of depth, I'd be good with it. Because I think Foster Moreau is valued around the league. I think a lot of people like him. What he brings to a locker room is veteran presence. I don't know if you can move on from him. There's not a ton of options in free agency, even if you grab that rookie tight end. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like, would I trade him? Yeah, I would. I don't know if you can afford to. I don't know if you. I don't know if you can. You don't have enough bodies there. So will Kendre Miller be traded? I'll say yes. Will Foster Moreau be traded? I'll say no. So we're 50-50 on that. We'll see what happens. Again, with or without Kendre Miller, I think the Saints 100% take a running back. With or without Foster Moreau, I think they 100% take a tight end. I think those are 2 must in the NFL draft for the New Orleans Saints. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we get back, get the questions in the chat. We got a couple ready as well. It's time for a What If Wednesday on the other side here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in the host chair for Hunt Palmer. I am in today and tomorrow. All right. We do it every Wednesday around this time. Let's get it and kick it off with What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, we got a lot of what if questions in the YouTube chat, so I'll let Beck handle those. He can kind of sift through them. You better give us some good ones. No pressure now. I got one, and it was going to be a Chick-fil-A question, but I don't want to pick on Cassie too much. So what if you could no longer have dessert?
Man, probably be a lot healthier if you can't have dessert. I mean, especially for me, at least. I don't really eat that much dessert, but I do like to have something most nights. I try to get like some kind of chocolate or something, but not a lot. But still, yeah, it definitely would be a lot healthier and not as much sugar. So yeah, it'd probably be a good thing, honestly.
I'm actually okay with it. We did this last week on OTB with Chef. We were talking about a lot of things, and it was like, would you rather have like only eat dessert or never eat dessert again? I'm good with not eating dessert ever again. Like I like dessert. It's fine. I like my savory foods way better. I am perfectly okay with that. Beck, what you got?
All right. Let's see. What? Okay. There's not really. Okay. What if there was a terrible traffic jam one day and not everyone could get to the studio and Cassie had to fill in the host chair?
That's the day we win even more awards than we already do.
Yeah.
That would be a horrible show.
Cassie, let's just look. I know you don't want to host a sports show, but like, let's say hypothetically you had to. What are you talking about? What are you leading with?
I don't even know. That's my problem. I can't just sit and talk straight for 10 to 12 minutes about a specific sport. I just can't do it.
I think you could do it. I think you could.
Maybe I could talk about dance. I've been dancing my whole life.
You could talk.
That's about it.
You could recap the gym season for LSU. You could probably do a little bit of baseball. I mean, you follow baseball a little bit. I think
I do follow baseball. But like, I feel like there's not enough to talk about.
Just load the show with guest.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Speaking of, guys, our entire second hour is a guest. It was not planned out that way. Koki Riley, who is normally on at 1:15, had to move to 2:15. Joe Healy, who is normally on Thursday, texted me last night. He had to hop on today. So literally 2:15, 2:30. We are straight guest in hour number 2. All right, Beck, what else you got for us?
All right, let's see what we got. What if LSU baseball doesn't get out of a regional? Will they move on from Beth Torina?
So many people, like, okay, there's not a coach on campus right now that I want to succeed more than Beth Torina. People have been like calling for Beth Torina's job for years now, and I know why. She's the only one that Scott Woodward hasn't hired. I get it. She was already here when he got there, but guys, like, the SEC's tough. Like, they're fine. I get that they're in a little bit of a slump, but they're right there in the thick of things. I understand that. Oh, are they the number one team in the country? No, but anything can happen once you get into postseason. Now, if they lose the regional, do they move on from her? I don't know, but I just feel like this gets brought up far too often with Beth Torina. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. The SEC, if you want to talk about the SEC dominating a sport, softball might be up there, especially since they got Oklahoma, who has been a perennial powerhouse in softball for the last 10 years. when you have a league like that where you've got I think right now you maybe have like 6 or 7 teams in the top 10 or 15 ranking wise. So, there's teams that there are 3 or 4 games under 500 in the conference, but they're still ranked because the SEC is just so good. And obviously, going into the season, you had high expectations, as you do every year for LSU softball. So when you don't exactly, exceed those expectations or maybe meet them, there's going to be questions about it. But Beth Torina has had LSU softball as one of the most consistent programs in the nation, and they haven't gotten over the hump with her, but still, it's what you have, what is out there and what you have. Are you certain that it's going to be better? I don't know. I don't think so. I think she's a really good coach, and I think the SEC is just really good. So I wouldn't fire her. But
no, I agree. And look, would that be underwhelming? Yes. I think this LSU baseball team is talented. Should you be satisfied with losing a regional? Absolutely not. You should want to get to the College World Series in softball and baseball every single year. It's not realistic, but that should be your goal. However, my issue is it doesn't really matter how good Beth Torina is doing. I just feel like any minor slip up, everybody's immediately coming forward. Now, look, would that be disappointing? Yes, obviously it's not where you want to be, but this gets talked about a little too much in my opinion. All right, Beck. I got one here. I want you to figure out what Gunnar Marks' question is, because now I'm curious.
Well,
our guy is he's going after it in the chat. What's the question?
Yeah. So first of all, when the show first started, he said the same message like 5 times in a row. So
was it a good message?
No, it wasn't. It was very strange. Didn't really make a lot of sense. But anyway, he asked what would you do if you found him eating a medium pizza with mayonnaise, ketchup, strawberries, pineapples, mustard, beet. It's just obviously this is just an absurd thing.
Yeah, it's a stupid question.
It's something that would fit better in the OTB chat.
That's no.
But
T-Bob, Jake, they're not answering that. It's a dumb question.
Even OTB, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's obviously just an absurd thing to put in the chat, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But just to entertain what we would do, I would think you're very weird if you had a pizza with all that
appreciate
stuff
you
on
asking it. I got tired of seeing why won't you ask my question.
Yeah,
so go ahead and ask it, and I'll tell you that it's a stupid question.
Yeah.
All right, here's one for us. What if you could permanently ban a food ingredient? I am banning mushrooms, no question about it. Do you guys like mushrooms?
No.
I don't hate them. Like I will eat them in certain instances, but I'm not just gonna eat them like raw or anything. But if you cook them and stuff, then I'll eat them.
Texture's too much.
I don't think a mushroom. I agree. I don't think a mushroom serves any purpose. Can anybody tell me what a mushroom tastes like?
I don't even know what the flavor is.
No.
Yeah.
And then it's one of the things that even looks grosser cooked than it does raw, which that should be a red flag right there. You're not supposed to eat mushrooms. Does anybody know what food group a mushroom is in?
Isn't it a fungus?
It is.
Yeah.
It is a fungus. It is not
disgusting.
a vegetable. Look, I'm not a food expert. We can call up Chef Michael Johnson if we want. Here's what I know. When I did the little food pyramid in school, right? You had the junk food up here. That was what they wanted you to eat the least. Then you went fruit, vegetable, dairy, all that, grain and all that. I didn't see fungus anywhere in there.
No.
I didn't see fungus up there. You're not supposed to eat mushrooms. That's the easy answer. And so many people can say, well, Taylor, why are you bothered by mushrooms? Because I don't like them. Why do you like them? Why does that have to have mushrooms in it? Because the argument I always hear is, well, mushrooms don't have a taste. You can't even taste them. Why'd you put them in there then? They don't add any flavor. Why'd you put them in there?
I think I think they have some redeeming qualities in terms of like their health benefits, but I'm not an expert on it, but I do think they have some positive benefits in terms of health wise. But I could go without them.
Do you know the crap that I drink every single day? Like the health benefits is not swaying this for me.
No, I figured that.
The health benefits is not swaying things for me. All right, I got one for you guys. What if you found out the world was going to end?
What if it was about to end? Is it
like you found out that okay, let's say we're in the movie Armageddon or something. A giant asteroid the size of Texas is barreling towards Earth. It's going to hit in 2 weeks.
Okay. What
do we do?
Man, that's tough. I don't know. I mean, you obviously want to probably try to spend a lot of time with everybody that your loved ones, if you will. I guess I'd probably try to do that. I would probably quit working because there's really no point in working anymore.
I considered that, but here's the problem. What if it doesn't happen?
Okay, well, that's the question though is what if the world's about to end?
No, the question is what if you found out it was about to end?
You don't know for sure.
You don't know for sure. So let's say you could say, okay, I'm traveling the world. I'm doing all this. I'm emptying my bank account to go to all these great places. Good. Congratulations. The world didn't end in 2 weeks. You got $0 in that bank account. You have no job because you quit it. I think I'm going to go about my day. I think that's just what I'm doing. I know that's the boring answer. I'm a scheduled person. I enjoy my job. I enjoy what I do when I leave here. Like I think I'm just going about my day. I gotta make sure my grass looks good if that moment does come, in case it gets captured on any type of TV footage and all that. Like, no, I think I'm just going about my day.
Okay, well look, here's a guy in the chat, half the Spanish Armada. He says mushrooms provide decent protein and nutrients while being low in fat and calories. So there's your reason for eating mushrooms.
Okay, so
and I actually agree with him though. Kale, I think we could get rid of kale. It's purposeless.
Y'all are talking about nutrients and why you should, and low in fat and calories. You shouldn't ban mushrooms. You're gonna ban kale.
Yes,
kale has nutrients. It's low in fat.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's low in calories.
But it's not. I don't think it has as many. It also has literally no taste to it, like none.
Like mushrooms?
No, not mushrooms.
Like mushrooms?
Okay, mushrooms has at least a little bit of
what? What's it taste like?
Disgusting.
If I asked you what a mushroom tastes like, what would your answer be?
Tastes like a mushroom. I don't know how to describe it.
Is it sweet? Is it savory? Is it salty?
It's got a little. I think it's.
No, it depends on what you put on it, Beck.
Well, it does.
A mushroom by itself is nothing.
Okay, I could say that you may not. I don't know. You may make fun of me for this, but it has an earthy taste.
There's a high chance that happens. What
it has an earthy taste to it. Like you can tell it's from the ground.
Man, I gotta tell you, Cassie, you can tell it's from the ground. It's an earthy taste. That just makes me want to eat. It sounds like I'm eating dirt. It sounds like I'm eating soil. No. All of these examples of why I shouldn't ban mushrooms has showed me one thing. I should 100% ban mushrooms. It's only strengthening the point. Mushrooms are awful. They're awful.
All right.
All right. With that, we're gonna close out What If Wednesday. All right. When we get back, we're gonna talk a little bit of LSU football, and then we are interview heavy to say the least in hour number 2. All that coming up here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Final segment, hour number 1, a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp here with you, sitting in for our guy, Hunt Palmer. Before we wrap up hour number 1, I want to mention a little quick LSU football tidbit. A lot of people have been talking about transfer portal, LSU's lack of aggressiveness here in this spring portal window. My answer, or my response, I should say, has always been, find me someone in the transfer portal right now that could come in and start at LSU. Because if you're not going to grab an immediate starter here in the spring window, then you're probably not going to grab anyone at all. A name entered the other day, though, that I think LSU fans should keep an eye on. It's Wydett Williams from right down the road at ULM. It says last year was his senior year, but guys, I don't know what any classification anybody is anymore. It doesn't really. People are basically just going to play forever. Let's just accept that. Look, 100 tackles a year ago, 5 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, 4 pass deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 forced fumble. The guy was all over the field. 6'2", 200 pounds. If you're looking for somebody at safety who you can bring in, whether it's a depth piece or a guy that can be inserted in, like, this is the right position and it's the right amount of production. I'm okay with this. Everyone's been talking about the LSU safety room. It's deeper than you think, because everyone's going to say, okay, you got TaMarcus Cooley, you got Deshaun Spears, Javian Toviano. What do you have after that? You still have Joel Rogers on the roster as we sit here today. And then you got 2 freshmen coming in the fall. CJ Jim Coyley, who was a highly rated 4-star player. Jacob Bradford from Catholic High School. Both of them are coming in. So you do have a little bit more bodies. What you lack is a lot of experience. Toviano's new to the position, at least full-time here at LSU. Deshaun Spears is entering his second year of college. Joel Rogers has played sparingly. CJ Jim Coyley and Jacob Bradford are going to be freshmen. Wyatt Williams has played a lot of football. He was productive last year at ULM. Could you bring him in? Could he come in there? I'm not even asking him to be a day one starter. Could he be a rotational piece? Could it be somebody that could give you veteran experience in that secondary? You have some veteran experience at corner. At safety, you don't. Tamarcus Cooley is your veteran safety. And a lot of young guys outside of that. That's what you have. I think Wyatt Williams, I think there's a chance that maybe LSU looks into this a little bit. Again, 100 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, a sack, 2 interceptions, a couple forced fumbles, fumble recovery. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's see if LSU makes that call to add to their DB room. Another position, defensive line. I actually think you're good here. This is a position that gets brought up time and time again when everyone's saying, why isn't LSU more aggressive in the transfer portal? You have this guy, you have this guy. The guy from Syracuse was a popular choice. A lot of people were talking about him. He just committed to Texas yesterday. I think you're good at defensive tackle. First off, your edge rushers might be the strength of your team. You did a great job there in the portal. But your defensive line, you have Jacoby and Guillory coming back. He's been in this program for a number of years. Ahmad Bro and Dominic McKinley showed a lot of promise last year as freshmen. And then look at the other guys coming in. We still have Shone Washington. He's still on the team. If Zion Williams coming in, Brandon Brown, Walter Mathis, Dylan Battle. You have a lot of bodies coming in. Now, they don't have a ton of experience, but that's okay because Ahmad Bro played a lot of football last year. He is now considered a veteran piece. Jacoby and Guillory has been on this team like 6 years. Dominic McKinley played a good bit last year as a freshman. Now, you have a new D-line coach. Maybe it's one of those things where all the guys you brought in, these big-bodied defensive tackles that Bo Davis wanted, maybe Kyle Williams doesn't want that. Maybe Kyle Williams wants a leaner body. Maybe he does go get somebody from the portal. Ahmad Bro's pretty lean. McKinley's 6'6", 315, but I mean, he's lean. You do have Sydir Mitchell. He's on the bigger side. I mean, Sydir Mitchell's 6'6", 340 pounds. It's a Bo Davis guy who Bo Davis recruited to Texas. He entered the portal, brought him back over right before he left to go to the Saints. But I kind of think you're good at defensive line. Unless there is someone out there that fits what Kyle Williams wants to do to a T that he thinks could come in and be a day one starter, I don't see him doing it. And what about offensive line? These are kind of the 3 positions: safety, D-line, O-line. You brought in Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson in the early window. With the emergence of Weston Davis, you may not need anything. Weston Davis was your starting right tackle all spring long. Reports coming out today that he's likely going to be your starter at right tackle. That gives you more flexibility because now you can move Josh Thompson to guard if you need to. If Braylon Moore takes over at center, DJ Chester's probably going to kick out the guard. Tyree Adams, by all account, is going to be your left tackle. He's probably locked down a spot there. You might be good at O-line. You're probably good at defensive line. And outside of Wyatt Williams, there's not really anybody in the portal right now that I think could be a huge upgrade for you as far as that safety spot goes. So I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, well, LSU hasn't been aggressive enough, or I don't like where you're at here and here. The reality is, after spring practice came to a close last week, Brian Kelly said, I like where we're at. I feel comfortable bringing this roster into fall. I could see this team not adding or losing anyone in the portal. Those were the words of Brian Kelly. Things obviously change, but there's a chance this roster is complete. All right, we were football heavy there in hour number 1. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to talk a lot of college baseball. We got Koki Riley coming on, Joe Healy with D1 Baseball, and we're going to kick things off with Matthew Bruni talking transfer portal. That's all coming up here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're the only Genesis, fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana, and they're right here in Baton Rouge. I told y'all earlier this week, we were driving, my wife goes, oh, that's that car I really like. It's a Genesis. And she had no idea that I even do this. I was like, yeah, they're really nice. They're really, really nice. And you should know it too. You don't see a ton of Genesis on the road because it's fairly new to our city here. They've only been at that location for a year and a half, but go check it out. It's a luxury vehicle. It's a luxury experience to be a Genesis driver. That means 3 years of complimentary maintenance, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single car that's on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, and all of them, every single model, from the entry level to the highest end, come with the same safety features. Safety is a priority for Genesis. Go check them out. Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.